Stephanie.
Hi, guys. Oh, my God. Look at that hair. Oh, my God. You have a lot of
This is
hair.
the youngest.
Hi.
This is Jalen, the artist.
Hi, Jalen. Jalen, I'm going to put in a request for you to paint my family. Would you be able to do it?
I'll try.
All right, cool. Because I've seen my favorite one that you did was a water paint. It was a watercolor. I remember seeing your mom made a reel of it.
Oh, yeah.
That was like one of my favorite pieces. Like, I'm like, I can't do that. Stephanie. This is a new segment, Sitdowns with Stephanie, and this is the Table for Four Family Conversation podcast. I have an amazing special guest today. I have a longtime friend, Diane, and she is a super mom of four. She's a small business owner of Canarsie Cupcakes. She's also a homemaker, and she also does homeschooling. She does 8 billion things at once because that's what us busy moms do. I want to welcome Diane to the podcast. Hi, Diane. How are you today?
Stephanie, I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. I literally just finished my semester, so I am like, whew.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's been a long semester, so I'm just glad it's over. I just finished my final, and I have summer school. I start in a week, so it's not that much of a break.
Right.
But it's not as intense as the regular semester, so I have a little bit of a break. But we jump right back into it. I'm relieved about that. And Mother's Day just passed. And how was your Mother's Day?
It was great. The kids did a wonderful job at making me do nothing.
Is that usually the case? I doubt it.
No, not at all. First thing you wake up in the morning, it's breakfast and getting them prepared and ready for school. But for Mother's Day, I did nothing at all. They made sure I stayed in bed. They prepared everything, and it was a great day.
I'm so glad that you were able to do that because I still had to work. Yeah, but it's okay. I don't mind. But that's what happens. This is what we do, and we're always constantly doing something, keeping busy and things like that. But Diane, I wanted to tell me a little bit more about this thing that you have, this special power that you have. I know that when I reached out to you, we had made arrangements for my birthday to make cake pops and strawberries and things like that. And then unfortunately I got sick for my birthday. I was done for the week, so I couldn't even go and celebrate. And it was like, I felt so bad. I was like, we had all this planned and now things got canceled. But I just wanted to talk about your business and how do you balance it all. So can you just tell us a little bit about your background and then where did you grow up and how did this all start for you?
Sure. I grew up not in America. I grew up in Guyana.
Oh, okay.
And I grew up in the kitchen with my grandmother, watching her bake and cook. And I think that was just embedded in me from childhood. And I've had a love for just creating things and making just stuff. Even in college, it was just always baking something, carrying it to school and seeing who would like it. And Canarsie Cupcakes actually started when my husband and I moved to Canarsie. And at-home mom of two at the time, and I was like, I need to do something more than just this. And I started just baking little treats here and there for like our church group or our friends, and word just kind of got out. And it spread. I just said, maybe I should just make this a business, my hobby that I love to do. That's how Canarsie Cupcakes actually started, was a mom at home just wanted to do a little bit more than just mom.
I get the feeling. Yeah,
and you know what it is, like creative thing inside of me where it's like I have to get it out some way. And bacon was the way.
But it's so funny, like I had a close relationship with my mom, but my mom was not the baker. She was more of a cook, just like you had the relationship with your grandma too. But it's so crazy that my mom was not really a big cook. I started really learning to cook on my own when I had my little ones. And I was just like, I was burning rice. It's terrible. Like you're trying to figure out things in the kitchen. And it wasn't until later on in my adulthood that I really like started to learn and cook and have that affinity for baking and things like that. So I totally like understand that. But my dad, he was a chef in Puerto Rico. So I think a lot of the cooking skills, I get it from him. But even though we didn't really cook together, but it's something instilled in me. And I think from Puerto Rico and from the islands, we use a lot of spices. We use a lot of different techniques and things like that. So I think that's something definitely in common that we have, like having that affinity and that sharing those memories in the kitchen. But I would love to learn a little bit more about how did it all start when you and Justin moved to Canarsie and you had the little ones. What were you doing at that point? Were you working somewhere else? Because as moms, we had a life before the kids and then we have the life after the kids.
Right. No, it's true. So before the kids, I was working. And then once we got married and had our first child, Jalen, I didn't go back to work. I stayed home and I was just at home mom, homemaker. And I just kept doing that. And then we came to a point where we're like, okay, are we going to send the kids to school or are we going to homeschool them? So we decided to do homeschooling. At the time, it felt right for us. I wasn't working when we moved to Canarsie. And I said, okay, well, this would bring a little bit of income if I started a side business. So I think that's how it kind of just became this business for me, because it's something that I love to do, and why not make a little bit of, money from it to help out, right?
Absolutely.
So that's how it kind of came to be a business for me, because I wasn't working at home with 2 kids and the load was on Justin, and you want to help out in some way.
Yeah, it's a lot. I stayed home with my 2 little ones for the first 3 years for each of them, and it did help a lot, but it's like it is a large load when it comes to you want to help out. But again, you have the cost of daycare versus, taking them to school, or should we homeschool them? How did you come to the decision of homeschooling all the kids?
Well, it came about because of biblical reasons. We noticed that with school now, there's Bible and Jesus is not introduced in school anymore. Yep. So we took it from that point to say, okay, well, I will be the best influence for my children at home, and I can teach them what I want to teach them. And instead of, whatever the state of the government wanted to teach them. So
they won't be able to
start with that.
They won't be able to dictate what you want. Right.
Exactly. And, they're thriving. They are doing really well. And I see it as I get to see their strengths and weaknesses in front of me. When they're in school, I don't think I'll be able to know what they're really good at or what they're not doing so well with. And I can help work with them. My oldest is an avid painter. You can see that.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Like all of the artwork in the house is from her. I remember some of the artwork
that you've posted, and I was just like, that cannot be. I was amazed of some of the beautiful portraits that she's done. She does these
little art pieces and it's incredible. And she's 12 and I'm amazed.
You can't teach that. Sometimes it's the same thing with cooking. Like when you're cooking, like sometimes you could see it, but sometimes you can't teach that. That's a beautiful skill. Sometimes you can't teach that.
And I love the fact that they're able to just be themselves. They're not trying to compete with who's sitting next to them in the classroom. I want to be like that one, or I want to be like this one. No, they are truly themselves and they're confident in themselves. And as far as them socializing, they have more of a social life than I do. People always say that with homeschooling, your children don't get to socialize, but it's far from the truth. They're in every sports team. Jenna is a great basketball player. She's doing soccer right now. She's just off the charts with everything that she does. And Darren, he's almost like an engineer. He loves to create and make things move, and he's very mechanical with anything that he does. And the youngest, she's trying to figure out who she's want to be right now. She's only 7, but she's trying to take a little bit from each of them to see who she is. But they're doing really well as far as I think.
It's so unique to hear that family dynamic, because I know that it's so difficult. We want to make sure that the kids are in the best position. Like we want to put them in the best position that we can.
Right.
And I really think that at one point I was thinking about homeschooling my kids, because it was at a point where my oldest was getting bullied so much, and he was super sad and he was very depressed and he wasn't making any friends and he wasn't fitting in. And I really took it to part, like, is it something that I really should consider? Right. And I guess what changed my mind was that I don't know if I would be able to handle doing everything at home, working or stopping my career or not working to be able to provide for them. And I felt almost kind of selfish for making that decision because again, that's not everybody agrees with it or not everybody can do it. I know for one, I wouldn't be able to do it. It's just so much that goes on at one point. And what ended up happening, I ended up changing his classroom and he ended up thriving better than he was in his previous class. So I think it's just a matter of like finding the right people, finding the right teacher, the right guidance, and putting them in a safer environment. Right. But I love the fact that you have all four of them thriving in their own way. And I feel that is sometimes restricted when you are either in a charter school, in a public school, in a Catholic school, parochial school, and things like that. So they don't have the same freedoms. I don't know if it's the same thing, like do they get up the same time every day? Is there freedom in that sense? That's always something that you think about.
That's the thing. Well, that's the great thing about homeschooling is I try my very best to keep a schedule with them as far as when they wake up, have their breakfast, get ready, and then we school. But then there are days where things don't work out, at all. They don't go to plan at all.
Those are some days.
Those are some days. And that's the beauty of homeschooling is that you can pick off where you left off. And it's not like you're messing up in a way. So that's what I enjoy about it. And there's some days that we do like outside work and we'll count that as some type of class that we're doing. Or when they're doing arts and craft, that's obviously like art class or something. So there's so many ways to incorporate everyday life as the classroom. And that's essentially homeschooling because you're trying to teach them how to manage life and do things throughout life skills. Be self-sufficient. That's what I really want for them, right? That they should be able to take care of themselves in any situation. Yeah, but it comes with its challenges too, because there are days that I feel like, okay, maybe I'm not doing enough. Maybe I'm not teaching them enough. Should I send them to school? Because as a parent, like you said, you want the best for them. And sometimes I sit back and say, was this the best decision? Especially as they get older, it's like, okay, now we're approaching high school years. I have to buckle down even more with 8th grade coming up. And it's like, am I going to be doing enough for them to set them up for high school?
Set them for success. Right.
Right. And it's like all those things that it goes through your head on a daily basis. For me, it's like, okay, did we do this enough today? But it's, as far as I can see, looking back at them, it's like, I think they're doing really well and I'm proud of them.
They're amazing. They're amazing. I have a quick story I wanted to tell you. I had one of my, not one of my personal students, but one of the students that I knew in my dance studio. She was homeschooled the first, I think from high school all the way to 8th grade to all the way to high school. Okay. And the mother, amazing mom. But what made her do homeschooling was that she was a performer. She was always on traveling or she was doing things like that. So the best thing for her was to do homeschooling. And she's going to college. She got accepted to one of these greatest state colleges and she's thriving. So I don't want people to take away from it. It's like, oh, if you only do homeschooling, this. Children will thrive in any environment that you put them in if you're setting them up for success. So I don't really think it matters in any way. So I think it's just a beautiful thing. It does come with its challenges, just like anything else, just like balancing marriage, balancing kids, balancing business, trying to balance life. Everything comes with challenges. Yes. But I think that it's such a wonderful thing to see that and see how they're thriving in that sense. Right. It's amazing. It's truly amazing. But I want to know, what is a typical day in the morning for you guys? What is a typical day for you?
It's just trying to get everyone awake. That's the hardest thing.
It's shaking the kids up the bed.
Oh my gosh. You have, my oldest, she will get up on time. No worries. I don't even have to go and wake her up or anything. My son, on the other hand, he'll take all 3 sisters just to get him and just, hey, it's time to get up. Okay. We've got things to do. We've got a whole day here. Yeah. They get up and it's 4 of them. So you can imagine the line for the bathroom and getting ready. And the girls are always especially now I have a preteen, soon to be teenager. The bathroom wait might be longer. She has her hair to do.
She has her hair to, yep.
She's fixing lately, She's like, Mom, can I borrow your phone real quick? Okay, sure. I see selfies in the mirror. It's like, hello, like we've got things to do here, right?
Chop, chop. Let's go.
So they get ready, they have their breakfast, and then we do a little bit of cleanup because I can't function with like clutter and I just can't. And we clean up and then it's time for school. Now, my 2 oldest are in 7th grade. Darren is a year younger, but he does the same work. So, because when I was teaching Jalen 1st grade, he was doing the work with her and he excelled. So I was like,
so they went
why
up
not just continue it? Right. So he's a grade ahead, but he's doing fantastic. And then Jenna is in 3rd grade, Janine's in 1st grade. So it's 3 different grade levels that I'm teaching. They say that the dining table is where everything happens.
Absolutely.
Where breakfast happens. It's where homeschooling happens.
Homeschool, the recordings, dinner,
everything.
Everything happens at
the disagreements, you name it. Everything happens at the dining table. Go through that. And then with Justin's schedule, it's a little bit different. So
he probably doesn't have a typical schedule, right?
It's not a typical schedule at all.
Yeah, our schedules are not typical either.
Not at all, because sometimes he works days, he works nights. So it's completely different if he's working nights and he's home during the day. It's if he needs something, like let's say he's working in the garage and he'll need a kid with him. He takes away one, that's kind of it for my day.
Right. Okay.
It's like it's paused until like we're done helping him with whatever he needs help with, or if we're doing like yard work, especially when it's on a good day and you want to kind of get out there and get things done. The day kind of slows down a bit until maybe the afternoon we'll pick it back up, depending on how far along we've gotten in school. And then if not, we'll pause until the next day.
Right. Right.
So that's the beauty of being home with them. And it's not like a rigid sit down, do like 3 hours of work, you get lunch, and then do another couple hours. It's very,
right.
It's relaxed. Nothing is forced. If something isn't learned within like the first 2 days, I spend time on it until it's like absorbed, like until they really understand it. So that's how our day kind of goes. And then like after school, like after they clean up again, they get like either outside play or time on their tablet while I get dinner ready. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of our typical day, how it goes. Some days it doesn't happen that way. Some days it's pizza. I don't cook. I
hear that. I hear that.
Because then you have like the pile of laundry and it's 4, so you can imagine.
Yeah, it's 4 here. So it's your 4 and then you have 6. So I have 5 doing laundry.
It's never ending.
If I tell you stories of the loads that I've had, I literally wrote a story about it. I have to share that story with you. I have to go find that. I did it for my literary class. The story was that the laundry came alive and consumed me and ate me. That's how my story came, because that's how I feel every time with laundry.
And now that it's really nice out there, out in the yards, and we're dealing with allergy in the house. So as soon as they go out and come in, have to change because that pollen on them. That's like double the amount of laundry. And it's like, it's just never ending. It's just when you think you've kind of got it. No, you turn around and there's this thing like just looking at you like.
Yep. It's looking back at you and say, yes, I'm here. I need to be folded.
And like, I know you see me. You know those memes that say, I know you see me sitting over
there. You see me. But then in everything with that, how do you go about making the business work? How is it that you have a long typical day in school, activities and lesson plans? And how do you even fit in the time separate from cooking and laundry and doing the business? How did that even, like, what magic are you making?
Preparation is key for me. Once you give me a date, I'm able to say, okay, well, the 2 days before or the day before, I'm not doing this, and this, so it has to be done before that. So whether it's the laundry, whether if I have to cook like 2 extra meals just to keep it, those are typically the days that I will order out, because it's like, okay, if I don't have the time to cook, we're going to eat out.
Pizza it is.
So it's definitely preparation for me when it comes with the business. And I tend to do it towards the weekend. So that way the first half of the week, I try to keep school priority. Right. And then even if I do something like, let's say I'm just baking a cake to just prep for the following day, they'll be at the table and they'll do read-in and they'll do their whatever work or homework or any little assignment that they can do by themselves. And the two older ones will sometimes help the younger ones. So they help me in that sense while I'm busy in the kitchen, prepping, doing things, and so on. And sometimes they even help me bake too. So it becomes a family affair. For sure.
Oh, and I remember seeing a lot of the small Instagram reels that I see them like making the cookies and helping baking. And I'm like, see, the same thing with your grandmother.
Yeah.
They had you looking. Now the kids are looking at you and they're going to probably be like one of the better bakers and better cooks.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a generational thing. And I find myself doing the same thing with the kids now with this podcast. Like they are comfortable behind a mic. They are comfortable talking to people. They're talking, you know, to complete strangers or talking to adults, and they're comfortable in that conversations. And it's just like, it makes me like, okay, that makes me proud. Like I'm a proud parent. So that's, you see your kids and you see how proud you are of their accomplishments and how their different personalities all shine through in their own special way. So that I can definitely see in anything. It doesn't have to be just baking, but if like you see how they interpret and they see things and it's just like, yeah, I could do this. And it's super amazing to see that. But I want to know a little bit more about COVID. Now, I know that when we were home, like it was a completely different change. Like we're so used to going out, going to school, coming here. How was the adjustment for you? Because you were already homeschooled. So how was that? Did it really affect you in that sense?
It didn't really, because that we were just home all the time. So there was no change really.
There was no change, right?
We just kind of kept going. As far as going out, I take them out for like a walk or to the park, obviously not in contact with anyone.
Right.
And where we live, it's not very populated. So it's easy to just go out for a walk and be fine. But we were fine. Thank God we were okay. We did come down with COVID early this year.
This year you got COVID?
Yeah, in January.
Oh boy.
Like, the beginning of the year.
How did that go?
Oh my goodness. Did it? Oh.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm just thankful that we are here. It was one after the other. So it was like a long drawn out thing. And by the time it got down to me, I was the last one.
Oh, see, of course, because you were taking care of everybody else.
I was done for. I was like, oh, I can't.
Yeah.
I couldn't even. But we survived it. Thank God. We are healthy and well. And for the children, it was kind of like almost like a bug for them. It just happened. It just lasted like 1 day for them or 2 days the most. And they were over it. Like nothing.
They're resilient.
When it came to Justin and I, it was like, it
knocked us out. Knocked us out. We got COVID at the height of the COVID because we were out, we were working, and it was my husband. He had it really bad. He ended up in the hospital for 2 days. He had difficulty breathing. Yeah, and it was like, ugh. And then I had a terrible cough for like 3 months. I could not get rid of. And the kids, they were fine. It was like a regular cold for them. Thank God they're resilient. Their immune system is what it is and it's supposed to help them. And so having that, and it's just like, it is what it is. But thank God everybody's okay. But you don't ever feel the same. That I have to say, like, you don't ever feel the same after that. Is that the same for you?
It's the same. Like, especially like the month after, I was still feeling a little bit weak. I was like tired. I didn't want to do anything. I was just like, I didn't have the energy or strength to do much. And it was like,
yeah,
what happened? Disgusting. Like, do I still have this? Like, but now I'm much better. I'm back to myself, and it's been months after, but
yeah, you're still reeling from that. And it's unfortunate that so many people that have these adverse effects, some people have breathing problems and things like that. But I know that with everything that's going on, I'm super grateful that we were able to get through that, even though with its difficulties and things like that. But we were able to still get through it, be healthy, and be where we are right now.
Yes.
But in that time frame, did you see your business affected by that as well?
So I know it wasn't so much as affected as I decided to pause for a while.
Right.
Because I knew I couldn't physically do much. I knew I was tired, I was drained, and to take on something that I wouldn't be able to produce my best, I had to say to myself, this is where you have to say no.
Yeah, got to take a step back.
You have to take a step back. And that's what I actually learned to do this year because of that. If I'm not well, if I'm not mentally like in it or feeling it, I have to be able to say no. Before it was always, yes, I'll do it because I like to create. I wanted it, but then sometimes it would get overwhelming with everything else. And I didn't know how to say no. But now this year, it's like, okay, no, I look at my schedule. If it's like full, I'm not going to take it on. I'm going to pass it. But during that time, I definitely took a good pause on it. And then I think I came back in a little bit towards the end of January is when I kind of started back. So before even
pre-COVID, right?
I think in December of 2021, last year, I said, I'm just going to take a break, kind of be with the family and enjoy them and be present with them. I have to be intentional about things.
Intentional, yep.
So I wanted to just stay in that space with them. And then COVID hit, and then I was like, okay, I'm definitely taking a much longer break because it's needed.
It's needed. Yeah.
And yeah, so I had to pause on that for a while.
You know, it's super hard as moms for us to say no, because I find it difficult to take the breaks. I find it difficult to say no sometimes because I'm like, oh yeah, I'll help you with this. Oh yeah. And I find myself later, I'm like, yo, I should have not done that. I'm like, regret it. I'm like, yeah, I regret that. But I find that like we always find it super hard to say no. But I'm more easygoing. You know, my husband wouldn't agree with that, but I'm the more easygoing one. But that comes with time and patience. But
always been easygoing as far as
you know what? People say that, but like I've always been like, I like things to be punctual. I like things to be done a certain way. And it's like, I'm always so restrictive now. And like, I have to let things go. Things don't always go to plan. Having the kids change that, having the COVID change that. I'm just like, I just got to let things happen. And, you know,
just have to ride with it.
Yeah.
You know?
And I've always had a hard time doing that though. I've always had a hard time doing it. But like with things happening now, and I'm like, I just got to let things go. And nursing school, let me tell you, will teach you a few things. You got to let things go. Yeah. Because you can't, things don't always happen to plan. There's always something that's happening. And I've learned that in the clinical setting that things can either turn for the worse real quick, and you have to be able to handle those situations. So I think by me being there and practicing that, I'm like, I'm just gonna take a step back, gotta say no, or I gotta realize I have no control over the situation.
Right.
So that's something that I've been learning in terms of that. But in the business sense, like you have created these amazing treats and things like that. What was like maybe the most difficult creation you've made so far? Or like the weirdest request you've had?
I could say the most difficult, which is going to sound really weird, but it's always the things that are the most simple, like requests. Like if it's just a plain cookie with like a simple writing on it, or just a plain cake, that for me is the hardest thing to do because
really?
What's simple for me, I just can't do, I don't know. It's just very hard. I remember someone requested just a simple birthday cake, white and blue. And I actually have a video up on Instagram with that one because what they wanted, it was just, they didn't give me any direction as far as like how they wanted to decorate it or anything, just white and blue.
Okay.
And nothing fancy. So I did like 3 different takes just to get it in my head what was simple for me. And it turned out to be very fancy for them.
Oh, okay.
That's the most difficult thing for me. It's like when you ask me to do something simple, I need details. I need how many colors do you want? What's the theme that you're going with in order for me to like...
Creative freedom, but I need some direction for that freedom.
Right, because what's simple for me may not be simpler for you. What's simple for you is, it could be completely different for me. So it's those simple things. One of my favorite cakes that I did was casino themed cake. And
I've seen that cake.
It came out really nice.
It was
and I enjoyed making that cake.
I seen that cake. That cake was really, I saw the Paw Patrol one and there was a flower creation that I saw and I was just like, oh, this is like amazing.
Thank you. Yeah. As far as weird I don't think I've gotten anything weird yet.
You said yet.
I did a clog cake. It was like in the shape of a crock. That was probably, I won't say the weirdest, but it was definitely unique.
A crock one. Is it for a nurse or just for?
No, this person just loves crocks. So yeah.
Okay, cool.
I did that. That one was, it took some time to get the shape and everything right. But once it was finished, I was happy with it. So I was like, okay, this was cool.
That's a check for me. That works. But it's so amazing to hear these great ideas that you've had for cakes and making all these beautiful designs and things like that. Did you ever think that you would be doing this like full time? Like, did you ever think that this was like, I'm really good at this. I'm going to continue doing this full time?
No, I never. In the beginning, it wasn't supposed to be this as far as it is now. It was just, at the time, I just needed something to do, pass the time, make a little money on the side. And how I saw myself before this was just like a working mom with my kids. Like everything was completely different. The vision was different. But now it's like, since I've been doing it, it's all that I want to do. My plan is to hopefully one day have my own storefront.
Ooh.
That is
throwing it out in the universe.
Throwing it out there.
Throw it out there.
That's the goal. I want to be able to leave something for my children. That's like, I want to leave a legacy for them. Something that, because my two youngest, they love to bake. And they're always giving me ideas. And every week I have to be in the kitchen baking with them something.
Right.
It's like, okay, I see this is what they like. So maybe why not have something to give them in the future? So that's the plan, to take it there one day. But as far as where I'm at right now, I wish that it could be a bit bigger. I wish I had the storefront right now because like the creativity inside of me is just like, I have so much I want to share. But it's like, I have nowhere to put it.
Yeah. I get that.
And there's some days, because it's not just with the baking. I've always been a very creative person. I love to paint as well. I don't paint as often as I used to before, but my last set of cookies that I did, I showed on the reel that I had all of my favorite things kind of combined into one. It's like painting and I love flowers all in one. So to be able to create in that sense and share it with people and have people enjoy it, which is like the best part for me, is when they enjoy it. Right? Like if you love what I did for you, then I'm happy. Of course. I'm happy. But the business is going well. Everything is just kind of like
working out.
It's just right. It's just like working out right now. It's not as fast paced as before because I do say no to certain things, but I think it's working out for the sense that I need to I have to focus on the kids as well with school. But things do come in when they're supposed to, when I know that there is time. Like it just happens.
And thinking about, it's all about timing. I feel like it's always about timing. That for you, you're at a time right now that it's working. And sometimes you don't want to change that. Sometimes it's like the recipe's working. I don't want to add too much of this, too much of that. But it's just working for you. If you weren't baking, what would you be doing though? Instead, if you weren't baking, if you weren't at a home mom, if you weren't doing that, what would you be doing now instead?
I always envision myself in some type of corporate business.
Yeah, me too.
Put myself in like some type of
that
business.
didn't work out.
It didn't. But that's what I would be doing. I can't say pinpoint exactly what.
Right.
But maybe the fashion industry, because I had a love for fashion. And I used to, if you remember, the sixth floor of City Tech when we did the fashion shows and all that stuff. I definitely had a love for that. And now my daughter's doing it. She makes her own dresses and all that stuff. But as far as myself,
it kind of infused into the children.
It is. It definitely is. She's got it. All of them. They have something where they just have to make and create things. And I love that, to see that come out of them. But as far as myself, where I would be, I'd probably be in the fashion industry, I want to say. Or maybe that's where I would like to be if I wasn't doing this. Or something corporate, something that I could dress well and have business suits on and be the boss at something.
I'm just getting dressed and just going to work. I don't care about the work itself. I just want to dress nice and go to work. That's all I want to do. Just want to put on the suit.
And of course, make some good money. So.
Right? That's it, right? That's the excuse to go. I'm thinking about if I were to stay the course that I was, I think I would be an architect right now at this point. Yeah, I mean, it's so strange. People ask me all the time, like, how do you jump from architecture to medicine? I said, just like anything else, you find interest and you find something you're good at. I used to be a dance instructor. And I'm like, people are like, you really used to be a dancer? I'm like, yeah, I used to be a dance instructor. And it's like, well, how long you were doing that? I said, I did it for like 15 years. I was like, really? And I'm like, yeah. So it's so weird that when I tell them like career change, it's just like, it's all about timing. And I think I found my way through medicine, through my love of being with kids and teaching kids. And I love like working with the kids. And I'm currently working in pediatrics right now. So I really love working with the kids. So I've been in the medicine a little bit over 6 years now. And then nursing school kind of confirmed what it is that I really wanted to do and be a nurse practitioner and continue my studies like that. So I think it's all about timing. This podcast is another thing that's all about timing. I've been wanting to do this forever, but I was just like, should I not do it? I'm too afraid. And I'm like, now that I'm doing it and I'm like, it's coming to fruition, I'm so happy that I'm doing it. And I hope that's the same thing you feel about with your baking. Like it was just, and it's also
out. Like you said, when you just mentioned about being afraid to do something, I think I know I need to step out of my comfort zone a little bit more. I've always been this shy person, always afraid to just do things.
And say no.
Say no. I've got the no part down now. Now it's just kind of like stepping out and saying, hey, I can do that.
Right.
Even though it scares me, but I should do it because there's so much that comes from it. Last year, I did my first like food fair. And
I saw pictures of that. Yes, I saw pictures of that.
I was terrified. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know if this is going to go well. Like, what if I sell nothing? And it turned out to be one of the best experiences of my life. I was like, whoa, like the rush. Like I remember when I was walking on the runway in City Tech, the rush that went through my body is the same rush I felt on that day. I was like, whoa, this is fun. So I actually have another vendor event coming up June 4th. So hopefully that'll go just as well. But yeah, definitely like stepping out and doing more and saying yes to the right things, saying no when needed.
Right. So. And I think, again, it's like taking that leap of faith. Sometimes as moms, we always want to focus on everybody else because we want to make sure we're taking care of everybody else. But sometimes we forget to take care of ourselves in the process. And I'm very guilty of that. But
I think we all are.
Yeah. But I think it's just something that it's innate. And I think it's just something we've been so accustomed to because we've like myself, my mom is a very giving person. She's always super careful. Like she's always been like, oh, you need anything and stuff like that. So like I've always been close knit with my mom. So I want to do the same for my boys. But again, you mentioned something that like really it connected to me. Is like, I want them to be self-sufficient. You don't want to baby them to the point where they can't take care of themselves, but you want to still give them the support and say, hey, I see you. Do you need help? If you don't need help, I'll be in the corner. You know what I mean? So that's something that I really want to instill in them to be self-sufficient. But they have to be self-sufficient, but they have to find something that they're good at. And they might not know what that is because I don't know what that is for them. And they're still trying to find themselves. But I see little things like my youngest, he really loves dance. He's really into like coding. He likes to build and things like that. And I see, oh, that's the architecture side of me. Right. And then my oldest, he wants to know about cooking. So he's in the kitchen with me, helping me do all these dishes now. He's like, oh, let me help you do the rice. Oh, let me help you do this. So I'm doing the knife skills. We're doing like prep work and things like that. So I see like the little differences between the two that they're slowly showing me. So it's just like, I'm here to support whatever you want to do. Let me know and I'll help you. So I think that's a beautiful thing. Like us moms, that's what we're always trying to figure something out. You know?
And we will. We always will.
Right. At the end of the day.
It'll get done one way or another.
But I just want to take a step back and talk about your relationship and your marriage. Like, I know that having the 4 kids, it can put a little bit of pressure on marriage. And sometimes we don't have time for ourselves to go out and stuff. How do you make it work? I know with your schedule is unconventional, just like ours. Like he works overnights. I work different days. I go to school full time. Like how we make it work, I don't know. We just make it work.
Well, I can tell you one thing's for sure. Whenever my mom visits, we literally run out the door.
behind you. The wind just.
I don't think she even gets a chance to like put down her bag, take off her shoes, or nothing. Like it's just like mom's here. Let's just go.
We're out. Deuces. I'm out.
And, we'll go and we'll have like maybe a lunch date or a dinner date or something, depending on the time and depending on how long she's here for. We'll try to. If it's 3 days, we'll go out for 3 days. Just doing different things. It's not always like. Sometimes it's a supermarket run and it's just being able to spend that time together. But as far as when mom isn't here, it's difficult because like you said, the schedules are very, very different. Overnight and then now it's days. So it's back and forth. We try to definitely have like movie time or quiet time, just us. It doesn't always happen because there's a kid that needs something or wants to sit in between us or play with him because they don't get as much time with him as well because of the schedule.
Because of his schedule. Yep.
Whatever time that they get to spend with him, I kind of like step back and let them enjoy him because that's important too for them to have time with dad. But for us, it's a challenge. It's definitely a challenge, but we have to try to make it work. But I'm very thankful for my mom is here because without that, it's touch and go. It's like, because there's always things to do in the house, especially for him too. He's either out doing yard work or fixing the car or something, but then we'll try to do it together. So that's another way we kind of spend time together and be able to talk and just connect. Anyway, we haven't had a vacation in a long time, so I'm hoping.
Crossing fingers. I think that was the one thing that we kind of settled on. We're like, we don't get to see each other all the time throughout the year, but when we go on vacation, we go on vacation. Like there is nothing like it's us four or it's just us two. Or if we're doing something like we vacation, like everybody else, like, all right, it's only us. So that's the one thing that I do. Like, that's the one thing we do. Like, we might not go on dinner dates. If we might go to the movies once in a while, but the podcast really kind of told us to kind of zoom in and like, okay, this is our time together. And it's fun. And that's the one thing that I can say, like he's enjoying the time together. And that's how we're spending our time together now, doing the podcast. And making sure that we find that time together. And then the boys are involved. So now it's all four of us together. Now we have different things. We have different interests. But that's really how we really find the time together is really through vacation. We always look forward to vacation.
Vacation time.
Right, for sure. And then another thing that we do to really help is like camping trips. We've done camping trips. We do with big people, with big groups. And that's another opportunity. No phones are allowed. Like there's no cell service. There's none of that. It's just.
I definitely want to do a camping trip.
Yeah, if you have a chance, do a camping trip, and I highly recommend it. And if you have the time, I mean, I would even say come with us. I don't know if you have time. I'll give you all the details if you want to come.
Sure, please do.
Okay, so I'm going to set you up for the camping because you're going to have an amazing time. You're going to eat your face. You're going to stuff your face. And we're going to play games. We're going to do this. We're going to do everything. I'm telling you, camping is so much fun. And I make it a big event. But no phones, cell service does not work. I mean, it's not always the greatest thing because God forbid there's an emergency, but there's a ranger or somebody. But there's no cell phones. And it's really us quality time around the campfire, eating, having a good time, having a conversation. So
we go fishing and stuff.
Fishing, we go canoeing. We go fishing if we can. If you have to get a fishing license, it gets complicated, but you can have those events. You can do all those things at the camping. We usually do a big as well. And that is another, an opportunity for us to spend time together, looking at nature, enjoying the view, looking at the waterfalls and things like that. So that's something like I always look forward to doing that. So that's how we find the balance. Like we don't get to see each other all that much, but then that's how we find the balance in there. So
it's important and definitely communication. Like, even if you don't have time together, at least communication, well, calling to see, hey, how you doing? Or texting just in between the day, just to let each other know, well, I'm thinking of you and that kind of thing. So that definitely helps.
A friendly reminder. I'm like, hey, I think you're awesome. Have a great day at work. Something to that extent. And I think that's super important. But I just want to take a step back and talk about one of the children that you and I, we should have a common understanding about epilepsy. Recently, within the last year, my youngest, he was just recently diagnosed with epilepsy. And it's been a whirlwind, just to say the least, like trying to figure out how did the diagnosis come to be? How did these seizures started to begin? And that to me has been maybe one of the most difficult things as being a mom, seeing your child going through that. I just wanted to know, how was the journey for you for your child?
It has been scary
Oh,
in the beginning.
absolutely.
Definitely scary because when it first happened, it's like, what's happening?
Right.
I remember
So
I was
random.
working on an order for a cake and she just started seizing, and it was like, I screamed at the top of my lungs for Justin because I don't know what's happening to her.
Mhm.
And we literally like picked her up and we rushed to the hospital. Thank goodness the neighbors were very nice neighbors. They were able to keep the other children for us because it was so fast paced when it first happened that everything was a blur. We just kind of picked her up, left the house, and we kind of like forgot about the other children. Not in that sense where
No,
we
no,
like,
no. Of course.
it was just at that moment. And that was the first one. And they were like, oh, it's probably, they were like, she probably had a slight fever, but she didn't have a fever at the time or anything.
Mhm.
And the doctor was like, oh, it's just a slight fever. They crossed it off as nothing. And then when it happened the second time, that's when we were like, okay, something's wrong here.
Something's up. Mhm.
Something's definitely wrong. And we were referred to a specialist, and that's when they were like, we have to do all these tests. And then it was confirmed that she had epilepsy.
Mhm. Mhm.
And it kind of took us back, like, you know,
What do we do
why?
now? Why? Mhm.
Right? Like, why? Like, what caused it? What's the reason for it? And we did all of the testing, the DNA testing, the genetics, everything that, as far as like,
Everything under the sun.
all the brain
Everything under the
scans,
sun.
everything.
Yep.
Right? The
MRIs
like,
and CT
but yet there's
scans.
still nothing.
Right.
It's still nothing. Thank God she has been seizure free for over a year and a half.
Oh, amazing. Amazing.
Yes. But
Stefan's
it's still always that
I'm trying to think.
in the back of it, it's always there
Yeah.
because there's always any little sound that she makes that I'm not used to. I'm running,
Yeah.
I'm looking at, like, I'm like
Are you
a
okay?
hawk on her.
Are you okay?
Because it's terrifying. And we have to, like, in the mornings and especially at nights, because when it first happened, my Jenna, her older sister, was traumatized. We all were. But it took Jenna some time to be okay with it. And then after she started having like the breakthrough seizures, Jenna kind of came back to that point where she's like, every night she's making sure, did she have her medication?
Right.
Like,
right.
is she okay? Like, Jenna's always kind of like on her.
Right. Right.
And me too. She's like, she's always reminding me, did you give her medication? Did you do this? And I'm like, Jenna, I did. It's just like reminding me that, is Janine okay? Because she was so traumatized from it that it kind of changed her ways of just being with Janine. She doesn't like, it's not that she doesn't feel comfortable. She told me that she doesn't feel like if something happens to Janine, she might not be able to help. So we went through this whole course.
She might feel helpless. Oh, okay.
Right. So we went through this whole course of if Janine does have another seizure, what to do. So we every couple weeks or every month or so, we review it to say, okay, well, if this happens to Janine, this is what you do. We have her emergency medication available in places where they're able to get to it. But for right now, it's just, thank God she's fine and she's living life, but there are restrictions. I mean, as there's certain things that she can't do.
Yeah.
She can't go to anything that's like above 3 feet because God forbid, you know, she falls anything, or hits her head. As far as swimming, she can't go in any water deeper than 3 feet.
Yep.
So there are restrictions, which I understand. But when we go to the playground, she wants to get on the highest slide. And I kind of like, and then when she wants to swing, she wants to swing like George the Jungle and just kind of go high. I'm like, just take me there a bit. Yeah, so it's definitely, I feel like I'm always on edge with that.
I've been on edge for the last year, and I feel like it affected my anxiety went through the roof. Mm-hmm. And it was really, really bad. And it affected me in school. That was the reason. I think that was one of the main reasons why I failed last semester, because I was so concerned and I'm thinking about him. He's going to school. What happens if it happens in school? The advantage that you had, if God forbid, if it happens, she's home. Right. Now I'm over here and I got to think he's running to school and I'm like thinking about the medication, the emergency medication, things like that. Right. So I literally slept in his room for the last after the 6th seizure, I slept in his room for 4 months, watching him like a hawk and not sleeping.
Same thing.
I'm sitting there like this, watching him like that, like an idiot. But it was every time he's had one, I've always witnessed this. Like I've always caught it. I've always caught it. And then the last one was the worst one because we took him to the hospital and he had one at home and then they kept on coming in frequently. They were coming in every hour. Then it started where he had 7 and within 3 minutes. So they were getting more and more consistent. So he had the largest one he had was when we went to the hospital. And it was such a heartbreaking moment for me because at that point I'm helpless. Right. Like I felt like how your oldest must have felt, like helpless. How can you help in that situation? And it was like you had all the medical team coming in, rushing in, and they were amazing, helping him with his treatment and making sure that he was fine. But at the time, he was 9. How old was?
Janine was 4 when she had her first.
4. So she was even younger. Wow. So I can't even imagine being in that situation where, I mean, I can't imagine because I've seen it. It was very, very heartbreaking to see that. And not only that you have to worry about her, now you have the other 3 to worry about. Yeah. So it's just like, how do I balance thinking about making sure everything is okay with her? Then you have to worry about how the other 3 kids are doing. It must be so hard.
It was. In the beginning, when it first happened, everyone kind of developed, or everyone was traumatized from it, but the way they dealt with it was different. Jenna was very, I don't want to be with Janine right now. I'd rather an adult be with her. So she didn't spend much time with Janine in the first couple months after that. Darren actually developed this tick with his voice. It was just like, and I noticed it happened right after she had her seizures. And it's like, that was his way of his body dealing with what happened. And it was like, okay, well, now that's something else that I have to
keep an eye on,
address as far as like, is this something that's very concerning that I need to take him to a medical professional to get this checked or whatever. But after a while, it went away. But then I noticed when she had her breakthrough seizure the year before, it developed again. It came back. So I was like, okay, this is something that he's dealing with.
Triggering it.
Right. That's his trigger. But thank God it went away again. So it's, I'm praying that's it for them, but seizures, for the tics and everything, for everything. That's it. Jalen the oldest became very like motherly. She was just like there making sure she's okay, making sure that Jenna's okay, is Darren. Like she just kind of, I don't know if it's because she's the oldest.
I think it's because she's the oldest too.
That just kind of, it just kicked in for her. But it's definitely like I try in the beginning and the first couple months, I was very like too attentive to Janine. Like I was just like always with her, making sure that she was like by my side for anything. And then I realized, okay, well, I've got 3 more I need to like give my time and attention to as well. So I kind of had to treat Janine like she's fine, like there's nothing wrong with her, and treat her just the same as the others and say, okay, you need to kind of take a step back, and everyone gets time, the individual time, and then we have group time and stuff like that. But I didn't want to give her any special treatments because of it, because they would notice. They're like, well, how come she's getting a little bit extra of this and more hugs and kisses and we're not? So that was definitely a trying time where it was like, okay, I understand where they're coming from. But at the same time, my heart's breaking because my baby here is going through some stuff that I can't even fix. I can't help. So I definitely had to take a step back with that and figure out, okay, I need to make this work for everyone and still be attentive to Janine. So my ear right now is always like any little sound, even if it's one of the older ones too, I hear anything, my head's like spinning around. Like
I'm the same way. I'm running to the room. What was that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You just always like.
I'm always on edge.
Always.
But it's gotten a lot better. His last one was 6 months now. He's been seizure free 6 months. So he's been on his strict medicine regimen. And the oldest has been wonderful with it. He's been like, did you make sure you have the medication? Him too. Like he kind of stepped in and he's like, I'm going to make sure he has his medication. I'm going to make sure everything is okay. He's always watching him. So a lot of the pressure came on really on all of us trying to figure out, like, what do we do now? Because the thing is, we want to treat them normally, but it's like, it's hard to do that because you're always worried about them. Right. And I commend you for being able to go through that and being able to balance everything else along with it, because that's tough. And I'm still going through it now, but it's gotten so much better. And I'm very thankful that the medical team that we have, the neurologists, and they're still doing testing, but they're saying they still don't know where it's coming from. And you said that too, that they can't figure it out either, right?
They couldn't. With all the genetic testing that we done, all the brain scans and everything,
they still can't figure it out.
They find like a dot in her MRI, and they said it's indicative to, I can't even say that word properly, migraines. Now, I suffer from migraines. My mother suffers from migraines. My whole family, from my mother's side, we suffer from migraines. So I'm automatically thinking that it's, that particular dot, they don't know if it causes it or not, but that it's probably because of me. But the blood work says, no, it's from dad's side.
It's his fault.
And they don't even have any history of migraines.
The same thing on Andres' side too. When they did the checking for the DNA on the father's side, they had the abnormalities of epilepsy, and we had the factors. It was him. No history on either side of anything. It is so strange.
It is. And it's like, well,
it's frustrating to not know, but
it is very frustrating. I'm just praying that this is it. She's done, and she can live a normal life, because there's so many things ahead too, not just right now that are restricted. There's driving, all of it. So it's one step at a time.
Yeah.
One day at a time.
One day at a time. Yep.
And a lot of prayer.
That's the only thing that I can say. And I mentioned this before, that I don't want them to think that you are only your diagnosis. You are more than one person. You are more than one thing. You are an individual with many sides to yourself, and you are not only your diagnosis. I know that there's many medical conditions out there that restrict certain things and tell you certain things that you can and cannot do. But I always try to emphasize that you are not only your diagnosis. You are more than one thing. So I always try not to focus on that. And the emphasis on that is that as a family unit, you pray together, we stay together, we figure things out. We are a unit. And I think that's just the most beautiful part of this whole situation, that you and I, we've connected on that level, but our connection goes beyond that. You know what I mean? And I'm very thankful that you had the opportunity to come and talk to me about this, because I haven't found another parent that understands me.
Right.
I haven't found another parent. And if I did, it was really like, you can't understand what I'm talking about. Like, you don't get me. You don't get me.
Through it too, then you wouldn't be able to connect. Someone would have sympathy for you, but unless you've been there in the person's shoes, it's a completely different connection that, we share.
Absolutely. And I've been trying to do things with the Epilepsy Foundation. I've applied for being an ambassador to help with education and to help go to different schools and different facilities to kind of educate. But I'm still waiting on the application for that. Just so the many 5 billion things I'm trying to do out here, because I can't be still. Us moms, we never could be still. But I think that's just us. I just want to take this time to really thank you and having this conversation with me. And I'm so thankful that we were able to have this opportunity to talk. And I can't tell you, like, this is just something amazing, being able to have you on the podcast, being able to talk to you, having somebody that understands what it is.
Right. As a mom, as an entrepreneur.
As an entrepreneur, like, you get me, girl. Like, we're here.
You are here. I see you. I feel you.
I feel you, girl. I feel you. But I want everybody to know about your website. I want everybody to know about your social media handles.
Okay. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Canarsie Cupcakes. I don't have a website. Social media is just how I do it. Instagram and Facebook.
But I want to thank you again.
Thank you. I am very grateful for this opportunity. I cannot thank you enough.
No, it's been my complete pleasure. I mean, I can't thank you enough. Make sure you go and find her on Facebook and Instagram at Canarsie Cupcakes. I ordered stuff from my birthday. They came out amazing. You need to go get yourself some treats. You need to go check out the reels. You need to check out everything that's been going on with these special creations, because you will not regret it. I promise you. Please support your local businesses, because that's how we thrive here. This is how we thrive right now, right?
Thank you.
No problem. This is Stephanie from Table for Four, a family conversation podcast talking about all things family. I want you to go ahead and listen to those past episodes. We're talking about health. We're talking about culture. We're talking about stories, talking about business. And I want you to listen to all the new episodes that are coming out on Wednesdays. We're currently on Anchor, Spotify, Apple, Google, Breaker Radio, Radio Public, Pandora, Amazon. So we are out there. So wherever you find your podcast, I want you to go and find and check them out. And don't forget to follow, like, and share on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. I want to thank my guest, Diane, again for being on the podcast. And we will catch you on the next episode. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.
Perfect. That's a wrap.
So the kids say hi to you?
Yeah, of course.
Sometimes. They've been very patient and quiet doing crafts and stuff in their room. So normally they'll be like behind me in the video. Now you get to.
Hi.
Stephanie.
Hi, guys. Oh, my God. Look at that hair. Oh, my God. You have a lot of hair.
This is the youngest.
Hi.
This is
Hi.
What's going on with your hair? I was sleeping. Oh, he was sleeping.
I get it. He's
an allergy sufferer, so we both had to take medicine. He didn't have medicine, so it kind of knocked him out. This is Jalen, the artist.
Hi, Jalen. Jalen, I'm gonna put in a request for you to paint my family. Would you be able to do it?
I'll try.
All right, cool. Because I've seen my favorite one that you did was a water paint. It was a watercolor. I remember seeing your mom made a reel of it.
Oh yeah.
That was like one of my favorite pieces. Like I'm like I can't do that.
I can't do that.
That's super amazing. You guys look amazing. You guys are so big. I see you guys doing all these amazing things on Instagram. I know your mom is super proud of you. I'm super proud of you because y'all are like doing amazing things. And you guys keep up doing the good work, okay?
Thank you.
And I hope you guys have an amazing summer.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Have a good one.